all to the annual town budget meeting. While the city staff has already started working on the budget, this actually represents a kickoff to our budget. Actually, it's a budget for fiscal year 25-26, which doesn't begin until July 1st. But we start this process as early as this to start preparing the budget, and also our 5-year capital improvements plan, which starts July 1st also. We really value public input into the process, and one of the responsibilities that I have as a city manager and the city staff is to prepare an operating budget for the city of Ames, as well as the 5-year capital improvement plan. And we're in the throes of starting to put that together, and we very much want to get input from citizens to see what ideas you have for services for the city of Ames and also major capital improvements. That's why we're taking this time right now to get input in the front of the process. We're at the beginning, not at the end. So there's plenty of time for people to give input to us. So tonight we're going to try to do try to accomplish two things. First, I want our finance director, Corey Goodnow, to go over some major aspects of the budget. Maybe we have some questions about a budget or capital improvement itself. And then more importantly, not that you're not important, by the way, Corey, but more importantly, we want to take time to get input from all of you. We're going to ask you to give us input into the city budget, operating budget. That includes all the services that we provide that you've received throughout the year. Maybe some ideas where you would like to see us spend more or improve our services. Like your budget, though, if you want to add on to something, we're always interested. Is there a place where you like to see us cut back to help balance the budgets? We want to know that. And there might be some capital improvements, major capital improvements that you see throughout the year we work on. You want to give us some input on that too. And what we're going to promise you will do is, I can't promise you that every one of your ideas will be incorporated into my budget recommendation. Many of you probably don't agree on all those recommendations themselves anyway. I will promise you we will take them into account as we prepare the budget. And I will also promise you we will pass all the comments on to the mayor and council. They will ultimately make the final decision regarding my recommendation, and that will take place. Corey will go over the whole budget schedule, but their final decisions really are made in February or April, believe it or not. So we're really in the beginning of the process. So your input's really, really important. For those of you who couldn't make it tonight, you might be watching on our social media. There are comment sections there. Please add your comments there. We'll make sure that's passed on to the city council. Tonight, you can actually call in on 239-5214. If you want to give a comment, we will try to write those down and make sure for tonight only, you could call in on that number. We'll make sure those comments are passed on to the council. We also have opportunities for you to email us all the way up until February. You'll have time for input. So if you're not here tonight, that's okay. There's plenty of time to get involved in the process to get your input. All right. So why don't we start out? Oh, and by the way, throughout if you have any other, would you like to mail in, comments you'd like to mail in, you can mail in to me. My email is steve.shanker@cityofames.org. So feel free to give us those. I will make sure it's passed on to the rest of the city staff as well as the mayor and council before the final decisions are made. All right. So why don't we start out? We'll let Corey start off and give us some background on the budget itself. Maybe it's a background before we get your input.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Tonight with me, I have Nancy Masteller, who's our budget manager. So she's going to answer all the detailed questions should you have any. Start off with the calendar just really briefly. So as Steve mentioned, the budget is really a year-round process. There's a satisfaction mailed to students and citizens in April, about 1,350 residents and 1,000 students. That was recently reviewed with the city council in October. And that really kind of initiates the budget process. In September, the departments prepared their CIPs. We began looking at the current fiscal year that we're in and maybe any amendments that need to be made to that budget. And then start working on some of the larger scope project or capital improvement plan projects for the upcoming budget year. That brings us to where we're at tonight, November 7th. This is, like Steve said, really kind of the initial opportunity for the public to give input as we work on preparing the budget in the upcoming year. So a very important process for us in terms of construction of the annual budget. And November, December, Staff drafts the capital improvement plan, and we do what we call a probe, which is a productive review of budget entries, and that's really a line by line item of individual items. Brian's giving me a strange look. It's moving right back there. Sorry, I can't see the screen behind me. And then on December 10th, we'll go over some of the initial budget issues with the city council. So we'll look at collected revenues to date. So we'll look at hotel motel tax collections for the past year, the upcoming year, what we're expecting in terms of revenue. We'll start talking about issues and priorities, and then of course preference levels in terms of service. So that's an important meeting as we start to get direction from elected officials for staff. And then in January, the city manager begins meeting with the departments and ultimately preparing his manager's recommended budget. And then in the CIP workshops are held on January 21st this year. And then a week after that or so, there's public input. So we'll present the budget, the CIP budgets on the 21st. Then on the 28th, public is welcome to give comments on those items. And the real meat of the budget presentation will occur on January 31st and then the early part of February. So we'll kick off with a special report to the city council that really includes some of the major assumptions in the budgets, some of the major changes the state legislature may have made and are incorporated in the budget. And then we'll start reviewing the budgets with the individual departments. And then finally on February 11th, that is the final decision-making process for the city council. And that's when really we begin the notification process. You may have realized last year, you may have received a property tax statement for the first time. That will occur again this year. There'll be some slight changes in the calculations that you'll notice. I believe last year there was a flat valuation, and this year the notices will include a 10% increase in valuation, which will impact what your ending tax bill may be. And then finally on April 8th, we'll hold the final budget hearing and adopt it. And at that point, we submit it to the state. One of the questions that sometimes we get that generates a little bit confusion is the property tax rate that you're paying is not 100% city rate. The city actually makes up about 33% of your total property tax rate. The local community college makes up about 2.5%. The county is about 18.8%, and the school district makes up 45.7%. And those ratios are if you live in the city of Ames and the Ames School District. If you live in the Nevada School District or the Gilbert School District, those are slightly different. This slide shows the history of the city's property tax rate. And what you can see in green is the ending property tax rate that was certified to the state. What you'll see in yellow is the reduction of the property tax rate that comes from local option sales tax. 60% of the city's local option sales tax collected goes to reduce the city's property tax rate. That's about $12 million collected annually, or at least it was included in the budget in the past year. So about $7.2 million in local option sales tax goes to reduce the city's total property tax collection. And that's kind of shown across the black top line is what the total collection would be. The yellow is the sales tax reduction. And again, the green is what the ending property tax rate occurred. I think one of the other things that's a little bit confusing for citizens sometimes is they think that we're primarily operating on property taxes, and that simply isn't the case. The city runs many different utilities, offers many different services, and we charge for those services. So charges for services make up just under 40% of the city's budget. You can see bond proceeds, which we use to fund large capital and projects, makes up 16.2%, and then property taxes make up just 13.1% of the city's total revenue. So really the city, property taxes get a lot of headlines and raise a lot of concerns, but we're primarily focused on, or most of our revenue comes from charges for service, which is largely made up of utilities. And here's kind of a breakdown in numbers. You can see property taxes at $36.4 million and charges for service for just under $110 million. And again, those are directly related to utilities. And then we have bond proceeds. And those bond proceeds do include significant capital investments for our utilities as well. So you can see the grand total revenues is just over $3 million. So pretty significant budget for our city this size. We do not include the hospital, although that is a component of the city's finances, but we don't traditionally budget for it at the city level. Now you might ask, how is the funding spent? You can see our capital improvement investments make up 26.1%. The utility investment makes up 30.6%. And the rest of the items are just under 10%. So as I mentioned, capital improvement utilities are a significant portion of what we're investing in when we prepare the budget on an annual basis. Again, just the additional detail. As you can see, the grand total revenues in this slide are $301,000, very similar to the expenditures. We do get some questions sometimes, why don't we have a balanced budget? Why don't our revenues match our expenditures exactly? The city saves money, significant funds to pay for capital projects in cash. So just like you would at home, if you have a big investment coming up, we put money away in a reserve fund, and then we make the large capital investment. So while we may have a surplus one year, we'll have a deficit in the other year, and that really is to pay for big improvements with cash. This slide represents how we come up with the city's property tax rate. The city uses 3 levies that are provided by the state. The top one of the slide is the general fund levy, or the adjusted general fund levy. We start with the total requirement of $8.37. And I mentioned that we had a local option sales tax reduction of about $7.2 million. So that reduces the levy rate by $2.02. The state currently provides some replacement tax. There were some modifications to property taxes, and the state provides some backfill for some of that lost revenue, and that makes about 14 cents for the general levy. The next levy is the transit levy. It's about 60 cents in total, but is reduced again by state replacement tax for a total transit levy to support SIRIDE for just under 60 cents. And then, of course, the debt service levy requirement is just over $3.46. We use some fund balance that we've had in the past. Some projects came in under budget. We've made some transfers to the debt service fund to help level out some of those debt payments. That's a reduction of about 11 cents. And then again, the state replacement tax is allocated as a percentage of the total levy for a reduction of 7 cents. The net debt service levy, so the amount of debt that is serviced by our individual levies, $3.28. So you can see about a third of the city's total levy is to service the debt. What this slide attempts to show is the impact on a property assessed at $100,000. So we'll kind of run through the individual slides or the numbers here. So if you had a home that was assessed at $100,000, each year the state applies a rollback number. For the first time in a number of years, the rollback decreased significantly by about 8%. And there's lots of articles in the paper, a lot of discussion and concern about increasing property taxes. What that does is, instead of paying for 54% of the property tax, or the value of the property, it was reduced to 46%. So you can see on the next line, the taxable value for 24-25 was actually $46,000. And you would take that and divide it by 1,000 and multiply it by the tax rate of $10.09 and come out with the total tax bill of $4.68. One thing to point out is that is the payment to the city. Remember, the city only makes up about a third of the total tax rate. So in all likelihood, your tax bill is higher than that, but that is the component of the bill that would go to the city. What this slide attempts to do is show where your dollars are spent. The total tax collection on a $100,000 home, remember, was $468. About $120 of that $468 goes to street and traffic. About $103 goes to police and $76 to fire protection, and so on and so forth. I think the interesting thing is when you break it down on a monthly basis, comes up to about $39 a month. Of course, that would be if you lived in a $100,000 assessed house. So what you do is you take your valuation and divide it by 100,000 and multiply it by that number to come up with your actual monthly bill of service. I think one of the things that's important is we do a comparison of like-sized cities when we look at our ability to tax and our total tax collection. I think you can see highlighted in the bold colors, Ames has a relatively low per capita tax collection of $542.60. Dubuque is really the only city on that chart that's under the city of Ames. They have some casino revenue that helps support their budget. The other cities largely operate in a similar way. What this slide doesn't reflect is any other property taxes collected on behalf of those cities. So it wouldn't include any tax increment, financing, funding, or any mobile home taxes, which in some cities is a material funding amount. I think that's it, Steve.
Just a few issues I know you're concerned about or raised with me and some of the people in the finance department. So many of us may, over the last couple of years, gotten our tax assessments, your assessments on your property, and say, oh my gosh, my assessed house went up, the valuation went up from 10 to 20%. My property taxes are going to go up that amount. That is not true. I can assure you the council works very hard. They want to keep and mitigate the property tax increase to the citizens as low as possible, and also the fees and charges we have. So how do they do that? Your property taxes are calculated by taking your assessed valuation times the tax rate. The city council, the local tax rate is controlled by the city council. So as your assessed value goes up, the council mitigates that by reducing the tax rate. We look at how much we need. We come to the council and say, we need a certain percentage to run the police department, the fire department, the library, parks and recreation, a certain incremental amount. That's all we want to collect. If we kept it at 20%, we would over collect. So they reduce the rate just to collect that amount. To give you an example, in the last year, I think some of our largest increases in property assessments based on the market value determined by the assessor could have been very high into the teens. The property tax rate was reduced by the council. The ultimate take by us from the property taxpayers was only about 3.5% in taxes, additional taxes, which I hope you think is a pretty reasonable request, given that probably 80% or so of our budget goes to personal services. So it's pretty hard to stay below or getting lower than that, given the salaries we give out, benefits we have to pay for insurance, just like you have to pay at home. Okay. The other thing I want to point out is Corey was emphasizing that we run a number of businesses, enterprise funds, the water fund, the sewer fund, the electric fund, resource recovery fund. So we have a lot of funds or businesses out there. So when you look at our budget, which is a very large budget for a city of our size, you might see in the electric department has $5 million, $10 million in available balance. You say, why don't you take that money and pay to buy a park or buy a recreation center? We don't do that. We segregate those funds separately. They're separate businesses. The user fees that come from our customers in the electric utility are preserved there to pay for the improvements in the electric utility. So it's kind of complex. You look at the budget combined or in individual businesses, you'll say, whoa, we've got a lot of money to pay for an area that you might want. I want more streets. So take it out of the water fund and put it in the streets. We don't do that. That's called fund accounting, and we try to separate those funds differently. Understand? Okay. Any other questions you might have about a budget? This is, I know, a very high level. Any questions about the budget itself? Also, the local option sales tax, very important to us. You saw how it helps us reduce reliance on property tax. And also, not only does it reduce 60% of the proceeds go to tax relief, property tax relief, the other 40% go to community betterment. Community betterment includes, we finance a lot of our arts, CODA, Commission on the Arts, and also human service agencies. If you look at our city, I think the mayor and council, they allocate per capita probably more than most cities throughout the country, the amount of money they allocate for human service, support of human services. That's done through our local option sales tax, okay? Any other questions you might have about the budget itself? All right, if not, if you're all here, I hope you want to, Brian will scribe for me. We have two charts here, one for more, one for less. We always like to hear anything you'd like us to cut out or reduce to offset it. You don't have to. If you're here, I think you want to make a comment. The comment's going to go to us, the city staff, and also I'm sure you will go to the city council too. And the mayor there is in charge. He's got a microphone. You can just sit right there, and we want to make sure we get it on tape, and we'll scribe too. And I think Nancy will take it down, so we'll pass on to the mayor and council your comments. So any comments about service levels, City of Ames service levels? Ones we're doing, would you like to see more of, less of, new ones, eliminate some? Capital improvements. Yes, but he'll bring it to you. He'll deliver it right to your door.
So, police protection.
Police protection, yep.
In our neighborhood, there's fairly acute need for more police patrols. And anecdotally, we've had in the last 60 days a number of incidents. We live at 709 Douglas, so a couple blocks north of the library. Somebody was found dead in the alley over the weekend. There's homeless people leaving possessions in our alley. There's people meeting in our alley. There's people camping many places. There was an assault half a block away. So there's an acute need. The response from the police department is that they're shorthanded. They need to prioritize where they are and what they're doing, that we should contact our council people and request some priorities. Our neighborhood happens to have a lot of alleys. Those typically don't get patrolled, but that's where a lot of the activities, these events are happening. So we need enough in the budget that we have more police. And I realize that's an issue, but they also need to expand some of their patrolling and at least in our neighborhood, get some presence in the alleys multiple times during the day, random times perhaps, but there needs to be more police protection and presence.
Yeah, we agree with you. As you know, throughout the country, if you look, it's very difficult to hire police officers right now. It's not that we don't have authorized positions. We've gone out many, many times for it. We'll keep going. In fact, we have an ongoing, it's very unusual now, we have an ongoing recruitment for police officers. So you'll see most departments throughout the country are shorthanded. It's because we can't fill what's authorized. We haven't authorized. The other issues we're going to be dealing with the council on policies that we could follow that will help deal with some of these issues, right? We have to have the ability to take action in certain areas. Meeting in alleys is not necessarily illegal. I'm giving you an example, but there we're going to be talking about it. In fact, Pa right here, the assistant city manager, is leading a team. It'll be a multi-month look at the issue of homelessness itself and maybe developing a plan how we deal with it. And she'll be meeting with a lot of the service providers throughout the city, see what services are out there. We're going to be looking at other laws. Other cities have passed laws to handle it. It's a complex issue, again, that if we knew how to handle it, every city in the country would have solved this problem right now. But I'm sure the council takes this very seriously. I know they have. They've appropriated funds to look into this to see if we can help improve the situation, see what the situation. We're also going to move quickly. The council is going to hopefully next Tuesday allocate funds. We're going to actually try to go out and talk to some of the homeless people themselves, find out why they're there, what do they need, what will help them get them off the streets, out of your neighborhood. How can we help them? So we're gonna deal with the homeless themselves and interacting. Plus, look at other cities and how policies or practices that they've used to be successful in that. So we're well aware of that, and we're certainly well aware of the police situation too.
You mentioned also the action we took a few weeks ago about streamlining the application process and civil service regarding the police office.
Yes, yeah.
You want to mention that?
It's unusual, but we don't want to take any rights away from the people who apply for it. But we've streamed the state law allows us in terms of police officers to break down the process, which lays out a very lengthy process before you can hire an officer. We've actually waived those procedures, which is expedited. And usually you go out and you recruit for 3 months and say, we're going to close the applications and then we're going to look at that group. This is an open process. It will continue on forever. People walk in the door, we'll give them the test. And if they're qualified, we'll one person, we'll send them through the process, see if we can move them into the system. So we're working very hard at that.
So when you hire a police officer, are they on the street the next day?
No, that's very frustrating. I mean, not frustrating, it's the process. It's probably good. They have to go out and they have to attend the state academy. That takes many, many months. They have to go through testing. It's not physical agility testing. They have to go through, we put them through a lie detector test, and they also have to do mental evaluation and some other written tests and things like that. So and then we do our own internal training too, before we put them on the street by themselves. So it takes a long time. So if we hire somebody in July, we have people we've hired 6 people right now. they might not come out until after February or so. So it just takes a long time. Good point.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate Gregory. I live at 803 Kellogg. You kind of just mentioned the thing I was gonna request, and that is a comprehensive plan for the city to really address its unhoused population. And I hope that plan will also really engage all the service providers in our community, because there's a growing number of them, and they sort of seem to be popping up ad hoc. And I know that other cities like Council Bluffs have really engaged all of their service providers to provide, I think, a better solution to their situation. So I hope that you'll get the public involved in this as well as the service providers so that we can take care of this situation.
Wow,
Thank
you
you.
want to speak to that at all?
We are on board with that. This past Monday, we convened some of the service providers around this very topic. So how do we increase interagency collaborations around this? What are the possible solutions? We'll continue to engage different community groups around this topic over the next couple of months. We have a request for proposal out right now to hire a consultant to help us do this and to develop a countywide plan. And so that's coming as well.
Who else? You're here?
Hi, oh, is this good? Okay. Hi, I'm Laura Hansen. I'm the treasurer for the Ames International Partner Cities Association, and I'm just requesting $1,000 for additional funding for background checks for host families. So that's pretty straightforward. And also, just for another addition, 40% of our budget went towards transportation. And I guess I would really like a solution to not have transportation consume so much of that budget, but maybe that's just what it is. But
You mean when the visitors are here or not going to another country, when they're here taking buses around?
yeah,
is what you mean?
transporting them to and
The
from
visitors when they're
the
here.
visitors. Yeah, transporting the visitors everywhere. Took like 40% of our budget. So
Brian, do they have to go through the process, your process, or?
Yeah, so there's the application process for outside funding requests that closes in 2 weeks. We've sent emails to all of the agencies that have historically been involved in that process, but we can make sure to send you another one if you haven't seen that yet.
I have not received
Okay.
that.
We'll get that information to you. So that process has an application for the requests for funding for organizations that provide
Okay.
services in the city that don't fall into human services
Okay.
or our arts agency funding or other city processes.
Yeah, I only received a letter to attend this meeting for this budget. That's all I received.
All right, we'll make sure we get you the info.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Peter Halleck. I'm with the Old Town Neighborhood Association. And in response to the invitation we got, we discussed this at our last board meeting. And the two things that we are recommending is first, the city involvement in coordination of services to the unhoused or homeless persons. And the second one was for the city to consider setting aside funds to increase the amount of shelter available. I think we've seen, as was mentioned, that we have a number of people here from our neighborhood. Just the number of homeless persons living on the streets or living on around public facilities. Some are sheltering under trees at the downtown churches and stuff like that, or in the parks. We would like to see actual shelters provided, and I realize this isn't necessarily a city function, but for the city working with the private nonprofits to be addressing this. So,
I
thank you.
appreciate that. one of the things we're gonna do by talking to some of these people to see, when you say shelter, I don't know what their preferred, solution is. So we might be building X and they might want Y. So that's why it'll be very good to see what are they looking for? What would help them? What would they gravitate to if we could provide a service to them? And that's what we need to find out. So that's what we're gonna try to work on.
Just a couple of things, and I did a list so I don't keep talking. My name's Evelyn Garrison. And then my list just disappeared. One quick comment, homelessness is a housing issue, housing struggle. And so I don't know if there's anywhere in there to look at city regulations that make it difficult for housing, site-based housing, what we call Section 42, and to bring in more investors who do those types of things, more your site-based type things into the area. And I've recently found out some information on the inspection process for rental housing. I was just really curious, is there some type of plan, goals, or budget line items that will address to increase proper inspections? Because I've seen quite a bit of subpar rental properties very recently. That's been quite disturbing. And from my understanding, they don't get reviewed yearly as they do in other cities, maybe not even every other year or even up to 4 or 5 years, which has been kind of concerning also.
Yeah, we do have a review schedule. Anybody who's in an apartment can call us if they have a complaint, and we'll go out every year, every month if you have to. But the ones who have done a good job in the past, have a good history, we don't do it every year. We give them multi-year opportunities not to have an inspection. But anybody could call in if they're not happy with the surroundings they're in.
You want to speak to the issue of if people have more policy recommendations. So tonight's focus is on budget. If they do have policy recommendations, how can people make those recommendations?
Well, I think if you have a policy recommendations, like you'd like to see annual inspections, and I think you're doing it right now, you would, we'll make sure it gets on their annual inspections. But let's say you weren't here at the meeting tonight, you just write the mayor and council. There's an easy way to email. There's one email address you get on the website, you can punch it, and then you make that suggestion. And that's a good example. That's a policy issue, which they've grappled with. They've changed it over time. So good suggestion. We can certainly do that, go to annual, but we actually haven't done that for a while. Who else would like to?
My name's Jerry Neal. So this is a dotted line thing. So you've heard me and other people talk before about this topic. But if we can move ahead with consolidating or reducing the amount of waste hauler traffic on our streets, we can at least leverage or maybe reduce that street repair budget line that we are having to increase like year by year to keep up with the cost of street repair. So I kind of want to call that out because there's no need for us to keep having to increase the budget for that when there's other actions that we could take, I think, that would help us to reduce that. So I'm just going to throw it out. So thank you.
I know what you're saying. We're working on that. We're actually taking a comprehensive look at garbage. What you're referring to is the collection. We're looking at doing more recycling and how we're going to deposit garbage, not just landfill or maybe landfill it, continue to burn it. So we're looking at the collection part, which would be the consolidated system, and then what we do with it. There's going to be some we're going to have to landfill or burn, or some we're going to have to hopefully recycle, and then we're going to have to deal with the collection and how we set that up.
Yeah, that's we're really pointing at that kind of sticky issue here of how many trucks and haulers we're maintaining on our streets.
Right. And you'd be surprised, there's a difference of opinion even on that, because when you go to a consolidated system, the easiest way to do it is you have one hauler handled throughout the city. And the council's already gotten feedback, hey, I like to have competition Competition drives costs down. Competition gives me some variety too. If the person's not responding well, not providing good customer service, I could go to another company and say, hey, you perform it. When you go to consolidation, you go to one hauler, that causes problems. So what you do is you look at maybe 2 or 3 haulers, right? There's ways to do this. We just have to offer council a number of different options for them to consider. And it's been tried in other parts of the city and they have country. And there's pros and cons to all these options. We're looking at the garbage comprehensively now, collection and disposal. Good suggestion though. We're on it. The council wants that too, I can assure you.
Thank you, Steve. Kevin Burke with Discover Ames. I don't know if this falls more under a CIP project, but I would like to request that you had mentioned earlier about a potential recplex, and I think that the city's in dire need of recreation indoor space. And I would like to see that a feasibility study at least be incorporated into the budget to at least look at what our needs are, what else is out there, and also looking at a way that this facility could not only service our residents, but also host events to bring in revenue for operations of the facility, as well as additional tax revenue to the city.
I'm glad you brought up. The council is looking now at about five major capital improvement projects in no particular order. One would be a new animal control facility. If you've heard of ours, it's outdated, it's insufficient. We have to deal with that. Also, there's some danger involved with continuing the location of Fire Station 2 where it is right now. That area has become more densely populated, and we want to get it out of that area. By moving it out, it'll be safer for when the fire trucks respond outside, when they respond from that station. It'll also, if we move it farther to the west and south just a little bit, we'll get better coverage to the city as we grow to meet our comprehensive plan for growth. So we're looking at relocating that station.
You want to say where that is?
Yeah, we're looking at a site along just State Avenue. Think about State Avenue and Lincoln Way and State of South.
Fire Station 2 is.
Oh, Fire Station 2 is in Campus Town, the heart of Campus Town in Chamberlain and Welch. You know where that is? Okay, well, over the years, we've had a lot more people living in that area with the high-rise apartments, so it's much more congested. And it's very dangerous in the way it is right now. But it'll also help with our response time as the city grows. So that's the second possible project. We're also looking at, as you said, an indoor recreation complex. Right now, we really only have one gym in the city, one gym for the city, and we have to rely on the school district. School district has uses for their own gym, and I don't blame them, but we're second to that. We can't schedule our programs there. And many times when we do have it scheduled, sometimes we have to cancel because the school wants to come and do their program, which is fine. So relying on their gyms is probably not sufficient in the long term. So we're looking at that. And also we have a wonderful new site for a new community park out on Ontario West. If you've ever been out there, almost by County Line Road, you probably had a chance to walk through it, but it's just a wonderful site. It's got some great natural areas, beautiful natural areas to walk, a creek running through it. But also, as you move to the south, some areas that are agricultural land, more flat land, which allow us to put more recreation type of facilities there. So natural areas with more planned recreation, great park. So that will take a bond issue too to develop that. And then we also have to look at probably the fourth or fifth project I was thinking about is a fourth fire station. As we grow, this is not going to happen tomorrow, but as we grow out into other areas of the city, expand out, we're going to need a fourth station if we want to keep our response time. Now, many, if not all of those will require a vote, a bond issue vote of the people. So that will take 60% vote. So the council has to decide which one to come first, how to layer them out. Those affect property taxes. Those are additions to handling all the normal increases in our budget, because you have the capital costs, which is debt service, and the ongoing operation costs for it. So those will be tough decisions for them to make. But that's what's on the plate. Did I leave out one, or is that all of them? Is it all of them? Got 'em? And there may be more that pop up. Those are ones that we've been discussing recently, right? More recently, right? Correct? Good question. We'll make sure that gets on the list.
Good evening, Steve. Travis Tolliver with Ames Main Street. Thanks for the invitation tonight. As you can imagine, my list is more focused on downtown than anything else. Probably some smaller things, but hoping just getting some feedback from downtown businesses. Can you explain the city's position on leaf and snow removal along the sidewalks, and then of course the curbing in downtown?
Of leaf and snow
Snow
removal?
removal, right?
Can I explain our position?
So
We're for it. We're for it.
well, that's good. Are you doing it? Do you expect building owners to do it?
Where we don't like leaves. I've got to deal with them this weekend myself. What do you mean? What are you asking me? We do handle snow removal.
Okay, on sidewalks?
No, sidewalks are handled by the individual property owners, as my sidewalks in front of our homes are too.
Okay.
Many times in downtown, as you know, they have their own SMID district, which they help pay for those kind of services. So we do that. And we also handle the removal of snow in the parking lots, right? And along the street parking spaces. So we handle that too.
Okay.
But as you can imagine, when you have a snow, big snow, or small snow, you've got to decide where do you put your forces first? Okay? Do you start clearing out the downtown first when people can't get out of their homes to get there? Do you start at the homes first? Do you start at the major arterials first? It's very difficult. So we really hit the side routes first. Okay, those are the major arterials. We want people to take the buses if they can all the time, but certainly take buses during the snowstorm. Then we'll move into the residential areas. No need doing the residential areas if you get stuck you can't get out into the arterials. And then we move into alleys and the downtown area. We try to get downtown area as quick as we can, but it's difficult. You know, everybody wants theirs to be the first priority. Even when I go in the residential areas, who gets it first, right? I know they always say my street gets it first, but it's not true. It's not true. In fact, they make sure I'm exactly the last person who gets it.
Yeah, appreciate you explaining that.
Now, leaf control, I've never heard about leaf control, actually. Who handles that? I don't know who, I've never had a question on leaf control.
Well, it just popped up from some business owners, leaves gathering in front of their spaces and on the streets and curbing. So just a couple of other things real quick with downtown. Graffiti in Cynthia Duff Plaza seems to be a concern. So making sure that we have the ability to remove that. Benches along Main Street, if they could be bolted down or secured down somehow. They seem to move around quite a bit, especially after a major event. And so it'd be nice to be able to have those in a stationary place. I don't know if there's any plan for lighting of Cynthia Duff Plaza, but it seems to be a very dark place in the evening time. It might be nice to add some lighting there. And then curbing repair along Main Street, in particular, Clark and Main on the northeast corner. There's some curbing that's really looking concerning, and so just wanted to make that, bring that to your attention. And then more trash receptacles throughout downtown. I know we've got a lot already, but if there could be just a few more,
we work with you.
That helps with the trash collecting.
Those, those in bike racks, we try to work with them. In fact, we work with the downtown group where they wanted the trash cans and bike racks, and we should fix those curbs, and those are our responsibilities to get on, so we can get on all those things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that like some of these things are in maintenance.
Pardon me?
Some of the things that might be maintenance. Like
Yeah,
the
they're not
curb,
capital improvements.
Those could be, use the Ames on the Go app and just take a picture and go
Anybody
ahead.
use that
and-
app? You can take a picture of it, shows a GPS where it's at. It goes to the right department, they'll respond to it, or they'll find out, they'll be informed of it, and they'll take care of it. Now, some you can take care of in one day, some takes a week, some takes a little longer if it's to repair a whole street, but.
I've used it before when I see a dead animal in the street. I've seen it where you got some other issues in the street, and usually taken care of the same day.
Ames on the go. Good questions.
Hi, I'm Linda Munden. And every year I'm here, I live down by Banshell, and I'm a frequent pedestrian and now an aging pedestrian. And I love to walk everywhere. You know, we have a lot of bikers in town too who like to come and talk about safety. And I know that we're really focused on pedestrian and biking safety, and I really appreciate that. So I'm just here to say, as a frequent and now aging walker, thanks for everything you've been doing to focus on the safety of that. And I want to make sure that I came today say, don't cut back on that. Stay the course. And yeah, I was almost run down out here and right by the police department a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, just keep up the great work on that. And anything you can do technology wise or whatever. I don't even know. I'm not an expert on it. You folks probably are a lot more than I am. But I appreciate it. I've been here almost 16 years now, and I guess this is my hometown, so you're stuck with me. Thanks.
Well, we're glad you're here. Who else would like to add something? Max, did you want to? Like she's got.
Thanks for the comments on safety for the walkers and the bikers and the peds, and just putting a plug in here for more. Bicyclists always would like to see more parking hoops in and around the businesses, especially in the downtown area.
Yep.
I know we're working on that, and I apologize for not being totally up on where the plans are now, but we can always use more.
Right.
So I'll add that to the more list. Thank you.
Max here.
Hello, my name is Max Porter, and I live in the King Am Neighborhood Association. And we caucused and got a number of comments from, I won't have time to visit with all of them, but a couple of them. How come we're getting more on the more side and not maybe on the left side, but making your job difficult, aren't we? So I guess I'm going to contribute some more to the more side, unfortunately.
It's okay.
With respect to our neighborhood association, we're kind of concerned about not being able to get out of our neighborhood at certain times of day. And this is the traffic on Ontario. Traffic on Ontario seems to be at certain times of day quite significant, and we can't get out. So that's usually 3 times a day, usually at the time when the school is being held out west. Also, when it lights, coordination of the lights on intersection of Highland and Ontario, and the light that goes on out. So anyway, those lights, also Stang Road light, all those have a significant impact on the amount of traffic that comes our way. And again, that traffic flow is probably our major concern.
Okay.
And I think it was hinted at back here that traffic has increased in Ames, at least on that street it has, at certain times, not all the time, but certain times.
That way, that'd be the Shoal and Ontario intersection, right? You're not talking about Minnesota. You're talking about Shoal, probably?
No, we go out Minnesota.
Oh, you want Minnesota, not Shoal?
Yeah, Shoal is a difficult one because the train comes and blocks up Shoal sometimes, so we can't get out that way. So Minnesota Avenue is really a concern.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Glad I clarified.
Okay. I'm also concerned about the reflective cracking of streets in the city, particularly Kingman and Amherst. Reflective cracking. Reflective cracking. And that's where the crack exists, and you come along and put asphalt over top of it, and the crack comes right out through. That's a definition of reflective cracking. But anyway, there's been a number of those on several city streets around town about having that additional reflective cracking that's taken place. So we're really concerned about it on Kingman. The delivery trucks that go down Kingman, boom, 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 quite disconcerting to the neighbors. Trucks, back up on the truck part of it. Delivery trucks has been a real concern. They really aren't supposed to be using the Minnesota Avenue Bridge.
There's a weight limit, yeah.
Yeah, so we're concerned about that. Obviously, truck traffic, even large pickups can't meet on that bridge. So that bridge, on Minnesota Avenue Bridge I'm talking about, Minnesota Avenue Bridge really needs to be widened. And it has other maintenance issues as well. So Minnesota Avenue Bridge needs to be in the program that someday do a widening of that bridge, but I realize that's got to be coordinated with the railroad.
Mhm.
Got an issue there, of course,
That's
trying
right.
to deal with that coordination.
Right.
So Animals and Ames is another one. We have a large number of deer in our neighborhood. And
What'd you say?
Put that in the last column, right? Hey, I'm actually something on the left side. Anyway,
That's a good one.
but anyway, the large number of animals needs to be reduced to some extent. Well, I'll stop there. I could come up with more, but that's good right now.
Okay.
I'd like to reiterate the deer go in the last column. But honestly, I live in that same neighborhood, and the deer are a concern, not just for landscape maintenance and things like that, but walking my dog or driving down the street. There are a significant number of deer that get hit on Ontario in that neighborhood. I think there could be an evaluation of the deer population in that area.
We do that actually. You'd be surprised how many people entice the deer, they feed them and they bring them into the neighborhood. It could be your neighbor or my neighborhood, and that's not good. Anything else? What can I ask you? What can you offer me that I could come away with here? How is it living in Ames overall? Still okay? It's got its problems. Overall? What irritates you most every day living here? Say what?
There needs to be a better way to get from the one side of Ames to the other side of Ames without, I mean, there's no clear,
East-west you're talking about?
yes. And north, yeah, and north-south. It's like there is no main street that you can say other than Lincoln Way and Duff that you can get through Ames on. And I guess what's the street that South Dakota? But it's like you're doing a whole roundabout just to get to a straight point, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I hear you. I appreciate it.
Seems odd. We only have one Walgreens in town. I know there was a CVS in Campus Town. Now it's gone. I don't know if more prescription type activities are happening more like at Hy-Vees or grocery areas or whatnot. But we're new to the area.
All right, okay.
Been here for about a year, so we're trying to learn about the city and some of the things that from where we were like, oh, we've got like 3 Walgreens, or we got, on this side of town, on that side of town, and it just seems odd or different. And I don't know if that's designed to be that way, but you got to go all the way across town. Well, if you live in West Ames, you got to go all the way across town to get, access to prescription type things.
Interesting. Pardon me? Expressways are always, that's good. That's what you need to know.
Steve, you might mention Steve, talk about the intelligent traffic system that we're going to be implementing to try and speed up, even though we can't create brand new roads right away. We're trying to expedite the traffic going east, west, and north, south.
We've got a really great traffic engineer, Damon Predixer, and I know people get frustrated. They'll go on Grand Avenue, Lincoln Way, 13th Street, and it gets frustrated. You stop coming down Grand Avenue at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and you're stopped and there's no cross traffic. You get really frustrated with us. So he's going to bring to us the most highly advanced technical system possible that real life, it's going to be able to detect cross traffic. So when there's no cross traffic, we'll have continuous movement. So I think we'll be able to expedite movement either north, south, or east, west based on real time activity where the cars are sitting there. Now, my fear is everyone's say, you have a coordinated system, Steve, and I'm still stopping. And you will have to stop because sometimes there's people that cross traffic who want to get through. So I can't guarantee you'll never stop when you go down Grand Avenue or you go out Lincoln Way. It just won't happen. But we'll have the best technology available that will allow that to happen, to at least make it better. So it's an intelligent traffic design, it's called, and it's going to be pretty impressive when we get it. It's putting together in pieces, segments of the arterials, and it'll be unveiled in probably a year or so. So hopefully that'll help expedite it. And it gets back to sustainability too. So you're not sitting there idling when you don't, when you don't have to, right? When you keep moving your car. So we're kind of excited about it, but it's not perfect. You will still stop. I want to warn everybody, you will stop.
To be deployed. I just wanted to know when we can expect to have the system.
Say a year and a half or so before all the segments are in.
It's actually a 6 or 7 phase program.
Yeah.
And you see conduit going in all over in the main thoroughfares, or they're actually pulling fiber and getting that all ready. So I think they got phase 3 or 4 complete. We're spending millions and millions and millions.
No, we're getting
millions
millions of dollars we're paying for it too, but from federal and state government. Yeah. We're all paying for it, but it's not just local. We're leveraging as much as we can, but it is literally millions of dollars to have this real time ability to move traffic and identify where the cross traffic is. What else? What do you like about Ames? It's the best part of Ames. You wake up in the morning and you say, "Oh, this is great." Oh, that the city government does. I don't care about the school district or the county. Come on, what's something good we do? I'm tired of getting yelled at, but what bad things we do. What do you like about Ames? Services we provide. Good library, right? Okay, it's good. Everybody use the library? People of all ages. Very helpful staff there, right? Get information for you. Kind of incredible help they give you. That's your property taxes. Remember that. Your property taxes go to that. Yeah, Parks and Rec. And we have to find our niche now. Remember, when I was growing up, or my kids were growing up, we all sent them all to the city's Parks and Rec program. Well, now everybody sends them to these private places where they teach them to become NBA basketball players, and you pay a lot of money for. Or there's more, and this is not negative, there's more church leagues and things like that than we ever had before. So a lot of people gravitated to those out of the Parks and Rec department. So we have to find where our niche is. And we want to make sure we fill in that. I think not everybody's going to be a college athlete. Now is going to be a great high school athlete. We want everybody to have an opportunity to participate. So that's why I think the niche we try to fill in. It's like Homewood Golf Course is a classic example. Homewood is not a championship course, although I'll tell you, they do a great job of maintaining it if you've ever played there. Have you ever been out to Homewood? But we're not going to compete against the longer courses. It's not. So we take people like me who are duffers, or old people like me who can't walk that far, or the real young who are starting off, and that's a niche we fill for them. And they get into golf that way. And you know what? It keeps them off Vinker or some of the other places where you'll get mad at me if I was on Vinker and tried to play golf. So we're always looking at niches to fill, Parks and Rec. So we can provide a recreational opportunity for everybody. If someone wants to go ahead and get that higher level of AAU sports, you could do that. We're probably not going to be as competitive. We aren't. That's not what we exist for. So Parks and Rec, that's your property taxes too at work. Property taxes, remember that. Mhm. Yep. Yeah, interesting. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. We have an incredible acreage per capita here in Ames of our parks, and a variety from natural areas or not. I don't know if you've been over to Nutty Woods. You ever been over to Nutty Woods? I mean, you can get just a variety of experiences if you want to. And the council's going to add to that. We're gonna have a agility course we're going to be putting in place by next spring. It'll be a fun kind of experience for you. We're adding. We're going to have a larger spray pad out west. We're trying to spread these out to different parts of the community, so you don't think it's just in one part of the community. So we'll have spray pad along with the spray pad will be here, but the one out west will be actually larger. And what else are we adding, Tim? What did you approve? You approved. We're going to put a soccer pitch. If you ever seen one of those soccer pitches, we're going to put that on the north side of town. It'll be kind of a fun experience for everybody. Of course, we're expanding. Pickleball is expanding, so we're expanding the pickleball experience. As more people are playing pickleball, less are playing probably tennis than they did in the past. So we're trying to adapt to the new, the newest desires of the people. So why they're not out there, I don't know. The parks, I live up by Hayden, and there's lots of people around there. And I think there's people in Moore Park walking, Brookside. I don't know. Yeah. Yep. Good point. Yeah. Give you an example, we program yoga in the park now. We move yoga outside in the summer. We put it out in the park. So we bring programs out into the park as one example. Tim helps lead snow, that's what I was trying to say, cross-country skiing. So you got to go with Tim. He'll teach you in the winter to get out in those parks, get some exercise. So, oh yes. Go to our website, City of Ames website. You'll see that programming all over, all those opportunities. Yeah, we're glad you're here.
I love that comment. For those, I don't know if that comment was caught for people that are watching from home, but the comment that the person made was just concerned that we're not utilizing our parks. I would add to that, the Parks and Rec has added new equipment in our city gymnasium, and it's an outstanding facility. And so if people aren't aware of that, and oftentimes I go there and I'm the only person there in the evening. So it's very reasonably priced, and it's got great cardio and brand new weightlifting equipment and machines. And so, but I love that point because we're so intentional at creating these great spaces. We echo your concern. We want people to be active and engaged in these parks. So thanks very much for that comment.
Steve, I haven't been here very long, but just want to compliment you, first of all, on just keeping a clean city. I mean, everywhere I drive, Ames is a very clean community, and that's really nice to see. The other thing I want to say too is I just want to compliment you on your staff. I've had a lot of interaction with city staff over the last 3 months that I've been in this position, and everybody gives the highest level of customer service. And it's really nice to see. Nobody's begrudging or sad they're at work. You obviously have a really good culture here at City Hall. And so just want to compliment you on your leadership for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We've got great people working, and they're dedicated people. So I appreciate that. All right, anything else? Got good city council members too. I'm going to tell you how difficult it is to be a city council member, because people will call them and say, I want more of this. You got to do this, right? No, I want you to do more of this. We're going to do more of this. No, that's a waste of money. It's not a waste of money if you do more of this. So they're put in the middle, right? And what they're trying to accomplish is providing the best service possible at the least cost for all of us. Least cost for your property taxes, for your water bill, your sewer bill, your electric bill, right? Your storm sewer bill. They're pulled in all different directions. And then sometimes we're under a lot of pressure from the state government. and you might like this, state government is trying to limit the amount of property taxes that the cities can raise to provide library services and parks and rec services. So it's going to be more difficult than ever because our costs go up. Our property costs, just like yours, went up 30% on our buildings, our property insurance. To pay just a nominal way, I mean, if we give our employees 3.5%, I don't think that's outrageous to be competitive. Or your police officer will go someplace else. The limited ones who are working will go someplace else. So we have to give competitive salaries. Your insurance costs, insurance costs, very expensive, right? So the council's pulled in all these directions. It's very difficult right now to keep everyone happy, which is impossible, right? But they try. And I just want you to know how difficult it is, but they do the best they can, And people want new things added on, but no one wants to drop off what we do. So we just keep layering more things on. But they've done it. They're magicians. We keep getting better, I think. They keep getting better. Remember, they're making the policy, not the city staff. All the good things you see happening right now because of the mayor and city council. They are the ones who make the difficult decisions and are making this happen in this community. So you got to give a lot of credit to the mayor and council. That's where it deserves to go. Okay? Anybody else? All right. For all of you out there, again, if you weren't here tonight, doesn't matter. You have plenty of time to provide your thoughts on the budget, that's services we provide, our capital improvements. You can send an email to the mayor and council. It's on the website. Easy to click on, one click. You'll get to all of them. You can send it to me, of course. And you can observe as we move through it. January 21st, we will unveil the capital improvements plan. It's the first time I'll unveil a 5-year plan. The week after, we'll get some input from the public. And they won't even we won't even ask the council to make a decision on that week afterwards. We'll give you even more time to absorb it. It's a big document, a lot of projects. So it won't be until we start our public public budget meetings, which are in February, the first week in February or so. That's when we're going to have all the departments come before the council. We'll unveil our operating budget. And then finally, in February sometime, we're going to come together. February, we're going to ask the council to make final improvements, the final approving of the budget and the capital improvements plan. Okay, so plenty of time to get involved. All right, I want to thank you all who did come tonight, taking the time to come here. We'll make sure all those comments are passed on, and some we have to pass on immediately to the staff because that's more of a maintenance item we can work with right away. Okay, all right, thank you all, appreciate it.